accepted so that it can be treated properly, included on the Chapter 90 roster, etc.
Do any members of the board have any questions regarding Article 14? And again, this is up to the pleasure of the board in terms of your comfort level. If your comfort level is such that you don't want to consider this, the chair will entertain that motion. The chair will entertain a motion to approve or a motion to disapprove. It is at your option.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of all.
There is a motion for Mr. Reynolds to recommend approval of Article 14. There is a second for Mr. Chamberlain. Discussion on the motion.
You already mentioned you usually don't vote on these extensions.
We haven't, because quite frankly, the comfort level of the board has been that we didn't have... Well, it's not so much that. We are the advisory and finance board. It has been more the comfort level of the legalities of accepting these extensions. The reality is that you do make some good faith assumption here that the board of selectmen, legal counsel, etc., the top planning board have done their due diligence in accepting this road extension.
We've never seen anything, studied anything. We don't know anything about it. We're going to approve it.
You're absolutely right. We know, other than we know it's an extension of the road.
I trust our selectmen. I trust Jim, but if it's their research, they approve it. That's their choice. I'm out.
We can let you out. Absolutely. There is other discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by voting aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any other opposed?
Also abstain.
Abstain.
You want to abstain? You have that. Okay. Put Mr. Allerhead down as an abstention. The motion passes. Thank you. We'll go back now to reserve fund transfer fire department grant, and I was in the hopes that Chief Burke was going to arrive, but we have not discussed that yet, Mr. Correct.
My inclination, and he and I discussed it today. Let me bring you up to date. This was a...
In case the members don't know, you should inform them of the grant.
My inclination is to defer this until May, Mr. Chairman, and I'll back up now and build back up to that. This is a grant that the chief applied for, a very competitive grant, and the Swansea Fire Department was funded in the first round on the order of $390,000 to replace the self-contained breathing apparatus, the Scott Air Packs. A terrific accomplishment, in my view, to get that grant. As you may or may not know, some of the communities, it's a national grant, some of the communities you're in competition with have people that are dedicated just to writing grants and saying exactly the way you're supposed to say it and all this. That grant required a 5% match by the town. With the help of Mr. Kitchen, we were positioning such that there wouldn't be any question about the town meeting its obligations for that match. In the interim, Chief informed me that he's discussed with the vendor trading in his old Scott Air Packs, which the chief would estimate to be worth about $3,000, and asked the vendor through a measure of goodwill to donate the differential between the $3,000 and $19,000 to count as our 5% match. In other words, to waive that part of the bill. The vendor has agreed to do that, so now the grant's going to pay their part. The vendor's going to take the trade in and waive our part. So all that's left is the $3,000 that will be required to do the 220 volt circuit required for the new compressor or a different compressor to service these things charging.
Now, to be clear, that was $2,400 that was requested.
Well, that was partly because between the chief and I put 22, he did 19.6, so we all did the 3,000. He's estimating between 2,500 and 3,000 for that.
But the request is for 24.
That's the way he typed it up. He and I have discussed it, and he's okay with 24, but his estimate is between 25 and 3. However, the other thing we discussed today was we could do that later when we know what it is. He can pay for it, as long as everybody can remember this conversation. We'll come back in May. Unless there's some some advice you guys want to give me in terms of not doing it this way? I don't see any reason.
Well, the reason to not do it this way now, I mean, if we wait, is technically reading the law. You now know you now have the mechanisms within the next 5 months to not use the reserve fund
Right.
to make the adjustment, correct?
Correct.
So,
We can stay out of the
so
reserve fund.
we can stay out of the reserve
We'll
fund.
do this in May, whatever he needs.
Do it in May at the special town meeting prior
That's
to,
right.
prior to town meeting, okay? And therefore stay out of the reserve fund equation, and therefore
Indefinitely postpone.
indefinitely
Article 16.
postpone Article 16.
I haven't discussed that with my bosses, however, I think that's the way to go. I have discussed the possibility that it would go that way. We didn't get the word on the.
And if they ask why we wouldn't be willing to do a reserve fund transfer in May, because in May, it's obvious that you had 4 to 5 months that it was no longer unforeseen. You had a mechanism for foreseeing changing it. You understand the reserve, we all understand the reserve fund requires an unforeseen occurrence to occur. And right now, it was unforeseen that we get the
Right.
grant. 5 months from now, it'd be pretty hard to say it was unforeseen.
Right. So we wouldn't come back for a reserve fund transfer in May. We wouldn't wait till May. We do it now.
Right.
And I think the urgency has been removed.
Has been removed. So therefore, it will be incumbent upon you and the chief to discuss putting an article on the special town meeting warrant prior to the annual town meeting in May on the warrant for that amount. Do you understand what we're doing here?
Follow that?
So you see this paperwork? That solves that problem. All right. Now, finally, one last thing. It will prepare us for town meeting is final item